Welcome to another episode of The Death of Art. We're at Poster House on West 23rd Street, and we're going to see poster art of the Cultural Revolution. So let's have fun. So I understood that we were walking into poster art of the Cultural Revolution, but this really doesn't look like it. This is great though. This predates communist China.
It is really good, and I think it was the same as in Europe. They had posters like that. In America, they had posters like that.
100%. This is serious Western style flogging of many times Western products. This is really wonderful. This communicates that you're a more virile man if you smoke these cigarettes. Here we have 2 baby cigarettes. So if you smoke these, you're not just gonna have 1 baby, you're gonna have 2 babies. This is actually harks back to 1920s Russian poster art, which had this kind of constructivist raw feel. They're trying to actually reinvent society, and they're reinventing the graphics with which they used to communicate their ideas. This fell away quite quickly. And so this was a very brief period. It later became much more representational and, oddly enough, much more Western. As we get further into this exhibition, the work becomes much more Westernized. It becomes much more realistic, and it refers back to the Russian propaganda of the time of Stalin. Here we have the cult of the individual displayed beautifully in this huge shot of Mao. Just to reinforce the image, we have over here all of his little red books, which really came about later. And to bring it home, look at that. It doesn't get better than this, guys. You've seen this only here on The Death of Art.
The Red Army fights not merely for the sake of fighting, but in order to conduct propaganda among the masses, organize them, arm them, and help them to establish revolutionary political power. Without these objectives, fighting loses its meaning, and the Red Army loses the reasons for its existence. That's good poetry, wasn't it? Good stuff.
This one's particularly horrific. The title of this is To Everyone According to the Work, the one who works more earns more. Now in context, historical context, they were at the end, or not quite the end, of the Great Famine that was brought on by an early part of the Cultural Revolution, which is collectivization. And basically all of the food was coming out of the countryside, going to the cities, and the people in the countryside were starving. But this is a second phase of the Cultural Revolution, where it wasn't like you show up and you get fed. The harder you work, the more money you earn. So it's almost a little bend towards a cash-based society. Here you even see them exchanging cash. But the prosperousness of these peasants and the beauty of the countryside, which was basically denuded, everybody was starving, their clothes were in shreds, was the reality. And here they're trying to show this glowing, shining example of what they were trying to convince society was at that time.
They were as good as artists as anywhere else in the world. They don't get better than this in a way. This is figurative, it's in color, you can recognize stuff. It's figurative art, and they do it up to what, 77. And it's as good as any other art at that time. It's like a pulp, the books, detective books in America, science fiction books, those covers are really good. It's the same style, illustration style. They're as good.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, in other words, the craft was actually rather high. So their schools were working.
Yeah.
In other words, they were actually able to produce a very finished, creative within the bounds of what they're allowed to do, product.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, Mao actually lost power, but his wife retained a certain position. At one point, she made a proclamation that all Chinese communist art had to be shiny and red.
Now this is Chinese art from now and from the present. It's completely dead. There is nothing anymore. It's all abstract. You don't understand what's going on, you know, like everybody, yeah, everywhere else in the world. Everybody followed the same evolution to death, I guess.
Where have they gone? They've gone full circle. It's back to selling products. It's back to economics, but it's a capitalist-based economics. And so here we have this great trajectory that resulted in millions dead, bloodshed, deprivation, and here we're back in a pseudo-capitalist society. They're not exactly capitalist, but they're basically running the same game on their people.
It's no different than Chinese propaganda. It's just all good, all the same. Good little red book there.
Please like, please subscribe, and please ring the bell.